Thanks for staying with us. Good Morning Kenya continues, and it is time for our trending topics. And this morning, Ram is leading us on that segment.
Let's get it going. Remember, the hashtag as always is Good Morning Kenya, at Ramaguko, at Jane Omboi, at Ray Manyara, and at Doreen Narangi. What's trending, as I normally say, starts now. We are live also on Facebook, YouTube. Make sure that you go over to our social media handles and click like, comment, share in regards to what you think about the topics that we'll be discussing this morning. So, ladies, today it's an honor that I am now steering. The really amazing man is going to amazingly steer this in his own way.
Do you need me to powder your nose? I was powdering mine.
Yeah, ulikuwa unapowder yako. I also have my own hand sanitizer. Sijui kwa wapi.
Okay, sanitizer na kupowder uso
I can as well sanitize the set.
Yes, we bless you.
We got it.
No,
we
have
got
to
it for
Akichoma,
everyone.
we sanitize him. Akichoma picha, we sanitize him.
Ukichoma, we sanitize.
Yes.
Mara hiyo.
Early this morning, Regina has really been sanitizing that
Hey,
area.
we got to. Broadcasting House is not joking about this business. Every table is sanitized. There's a sanitizer there. There's a disinfectant here and a sanitizer.
And there's
so
an
we are not
extra
joking about this.
And there's an extra for the really amazing man.
Yes.
So today he sneezed in the morning and the whole house went.
Don't you dare do that again, please.
Ni kama nilifanya makosa. It was just a normal sneeze.
No sneeze into your elbows.
I did that.
Etiquette.
You did it.
I said, achoo.
You did not. You did observe sneezing and coughing etiquette.
Why are you not saying the truth?
Like a snake, you know, I don't know how snake wins, you know, the bad ones. The way they... unakuwa tupo, hata ukikoa unafanya, and that's a cough.
No,
you
we
don't
all
have
know what you did.
Sneezing and coughing etiquette. You're just blessing the studio, and we don't need that.
Let's get to the first story. So we have the World Health Organization has commended our very own, and this is why I come to say that I'm proudly Kenyan.
Yes.
Our own Kenyans from the Kenya Medical Research Institute have been commended for making and coming up or developing our own local test kit for the COVID-19.
What?
Hapo nasema tano tena.
Ati?
I know.
What did you say?
Hiyo haikuingiana hapo.
Ram jamani.
Tano what?
You try.
Please.
As in makofi. Mikono tano.
Makofi.
Makofi. So what do you guys think about this? Are we, you know, in terms of coming up with innovations, I remember Governor Alfred Mutua was, you know, asking our own researchers and professors to come up with vaccine, to come up with solutions for this COVID-19. But now we have test kits made locally, courtesy of Kemri.
You know, I absolutely love this because it just goes to show how much we as a people, as a race, you know, hapa hakuna story na I'm from this county, I'm this tribe, I'm this and that. All those barriers have been brought down, and we're now working together as one to try and fight this common enemy that is COVID-19. And the thing I love about this is the way this idea was embraced. And within a day of getting into this production locally, there were, 1 million face masks that were made that went out to just help in the fight against COVID-19. So the fact that World Health Organization actually acknowledge what we as a country are doing, our scientists, our medics, hey, I'm all for that. I am all for that, as long as it's contributing to the fight against COVID-19, because it's what we want right now. I'm a VP.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. That was a step in the right direction, and I just wish we needed to support especially our healthcare workers. I mean, they need all the support that they need. You can imagine they're leaving home. These are uncertain times.
Yeah.
This virus has no cure of late. It has claimed over 1.4 million people globally. And every day they're working round the clock to ensure that you and I get to see another day. The best we can do is actually stay home if you're not offering essential services. Keep, or rather adhere to the laid down precautionary measures. And like in New York, I don't know if this is a high time, like Kenya, we adopted a similar thing. In New York, every 7 p.m., New Yorkers just pause and clap for the health workers every day. At 7
like
p.m.
Just applauding
And appreciating. You can imagine just walking randomly in a supermarket or on the road, or you're driving, you just pause just clap. You don't know, someone is leaving their night shift, changing over, leaving their home to go for the night shift, to do a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. kind of shift,
Leaving
just to
the kids.
ensure, leaving their children, and just walking out there to the unknown, trying to keep us sane and alive, because we are all anxious about this COVID-19. So, and I think we have started this. Most of the dailies this morning, I have never seen, I don't know in my lifetime, I'm seeing it now in today in 2020, April 9th, having a similar headline on the front page of the major dailies, and is that we stand with Kenyans. So we need to stand together, and remember, we are doing it one for all. What I do today affects you back at home. What I do right now affects Jane, Ram, Doreen, Ben, Amos, Dirty
Peter.
and crew, everyone here in the studio. So my actions actually have a ripple effect in these uncertain times to everyone who I interact with. How about, like we're saying, Ram, please sneeze and cough into your elbow, man.
Yes.
Tafadhali, don't do
I
that.
did
Don't
that.
do that.
For the sake of public
Don't do that.
knowledge. That's,
Yes, please. That's the way to go.
Yes.
And remember, going forward is that everyone is expected to mask when you're in a public place. And supermarket and other retail outlets have already started enforcing and effecting this. It's just a pity that from the spot check that we did yesterday, Kenyans are taking this for granted. And given the projections, that's what is scaring me right now. After Dr. Amos went on record last week, saying that we're looking at around 10,000 infections by
by the end of April.
10,000. We are a country of how many million? You can imagine. But 10,000 is such a large number. We need to be extra
Even as talk
careful.
about, this 10,000, what is expected by the end of this month, it puts to question, in as much as, yes, the numbers are increasing, do you have an increase in the rate of productivity by our own, scientists and Kenyans? Remember, for these tests that are being done, they are being conducted at two main laboratories, one at the National Influenza Center, at the National Public Health Laboratories, and KEMRI, among other centers within the country. So test kits being produced by our own, but do you think at some point we'll be coming up with even vaccines being produced by our own?
Ram, just before we talk about those vaccines that maybe will be produced by own, because at least for more of what you're saying is that we are producing our own test kits. And just like Ray was saying that on major papers this morning, on the dailies, it is the same message as we stand with Kenyans, and that is still the same hashtag even trending on Twitter, which just goes to show that this is a time where Kenyans really need to be united, and they're really also exhibiting that even on these online platforms. And even in regards to this issue of producing our own test kits, remember that last week on Friday, the health CS Mutahi Kagwe said that laboratories in Kenya, especially KEMRI, need to be producing these test kits, and we're really seeing them doing that as of now, which is a good thing, seeing that the World Health Organization recognizes that, because when you do something and someone recognizes your effort, then it gives you more zeal to continue doing that. But remember that we're still trying to see how best this disease can be contained, even by using, by production of these test kits, by ensuring that we use masks, scientists sitting around just trying to see how best they can even get the vaccine. So the appreciation from WHO is really a good thing. And this also should be a wake-up call for us as Africans. Remember, last week, the county governor, Machakos County, said that it is time for, even in our own country, researchers, scientists need to sit down and see how we can get these vaccines. If it means they need to go somewhere there, Kwamiti Shamba, Chimba Chimba, see how best we can do this, because it is a time where we cannot just be putting our focus on the first world countries to come and help us. Maybe it's also a time that we need to start taking initiatives just the way we are doing even with this test kits. So it's really just a good move.
And I love it that, we are bringing that awareness as a nation. Today, all the dailies have the same headline. We stand with Kenya.
Hashtag together.
Yeah, hashtag together. As we come up with test kits, by the way, it's good that we are commending our own scientists and our own from KEMRI coming up with test kits. But speaking of which, we are talking about test kits and vaccines. So, in yet another lab, we have two scientists, actually, or if I can say doctors, French doctors, who have decided to say that, hey, if you're coming up with vaccines, let's not test them anywhere else. Let's test them in Africa. And this is what they say. Huh? This is what they say. And then I would quote, this is one doctor is called Dr. Jean-Paul Mira. And Asema, if I can be provocative, shouldn't we do this study in Africa where there are no masks, no treatment, no resuscitation, a bit like it has been done in some studies in AIDS, where among prostitutes we try things because they are exposed. So they want to test COVID-19 vaccines on Africans. But the WHO has come up and said that's a very racist kind of a comment, that we should not be able to distinguish people based on their race and test them just because they are Africans.
Yani amechoka kama mimi.
When I
First
this,
of all, let me just tell you about what was happening yesterday on social media, at least on some of the mainstream media abroad on the western side of the divide. They were actually talking about how our dark-skinned brothers and sisters in the western divide are the ones who are dying more from COVID-19, but this is because of the unequal distribution of wealth and access to healthcare. You see, when you look at the the fair-skinned counterparts in the Western Divide, they have more access to finances, to healthcare. They're better set up. But when it comes to our dark-skinned brothers and sisters, they are the ones who are suffering much more in the Western Divide because of the unequal distribution of resources. And still looking at the Western side of the divide, they are the ones who are worst affected by this pandemic. So why would you want to start testing in an area that has lesser samples and lesser cases as opposed to the epicenter of this?
I think these are just racist comments. Yeah.
Now, just I will read.
That beats logic.
I will read the comments that this elicited, especially on social media.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, to be specific. This happened around 6 days ago, and I can just go down on Twitter. And fine, let's start here. It was quite a tirade, yeah? And where do I start? As per SPNFC, Didier Drogba, that Didier Drogba, had some strong words for French doctors who suggested that Africa be used as a testing site for the coronavirus. And he is quoted saying, Africa isn't a testing lab. Do not take African people as human guinea pigs. Further on, someone says, this is at Rim Sarah alone, or Rim Sarah on Twitter. This is horrific. Two French doctors on live television discussing how a potential new threat against the world, that is COVID-19, should be tested in Africa, where there are no mass treatment, no reanimation, the same way experimental treatment for AIDS was done on prostitutes. That is a comment. Further on, Eto'o said, you know Eto'o, yeah? I'm sure you know everyone knows Eto'o. He joined, or that Drogba joined Eto'o in denouncing racist remarks by French doctors. That is Jean-Paul Mira and Camille Loche on a French TV station. Now, further on, this was quite people just coming out and just saying, now CNN quotes WHO, that's the World Health Organization Director General, called a French doctor's proposal to test COVID-19 cure in Africa, and I quote, as a hangover from a colonial mentality. I repeat, a hangover from a colonial mentality. How long? It's the same question that Kenyans were asking. Remember, yesterday's title in most dailies was that alleged that 17 MPs and senators had tested positive for COVID-19. If you went to social media, and I know all of you guys did, I don't know if the ones at home did, is that Kenyans were saying, okay, fine, let there now just be a directive that if these people indeed have tested positive, let them not seek medical assistance from Nairobi. Let them go back to their constituents, because they're supposed to ensure that the healthcare system is actually working at the county level. Now that brings us to the question, like, we've had leaders, whenever they get sick, look at cancer. We have medical tourism in the world over, and India is leading in that, because African leaders or the elite in the African continent seek medical assistance or other services abroad. And they do not care to invest in the local healthcare systems. And this just goes to show why even the other world, the outside world out there, views us as people who are not so serious with our lives as Africans. Look right now, and a report has already come out that the Big Four agenda might actually be one of the casualties of COVID-19. Under the Big Four agenda, we had the universal health care. Right now, we are not so sure where it stands. Kenyans are worried and are a worried lot, and to say the least, that is justified. If today, someone who earns maybe 20,000 shillings per month, God forbid, had to go or rather contracted COVID-19, would their NHIF cover what they have been paying, like 500 a month? Will it cover their medical bills?
Well,
That's a question that Wanjiko is really thinking about right now. And do we have the requisite capacity to handle these issues?
It means we are
in as
incapable
we
as
have,
Africans.
we have belittled ourselves as Africans, where things that matter, matters of health matter, but we have not invested equally as much in the healthcare system. And that's why I think our colonial masters are looking at us as proverbial guinea pigs. Because if today someone walks and says, I'm going to give a donation of X amount if you allow me to test X amount of people, trust me, no one will bat an eye. It will be welcome, because we cannot feed ourselves. Not because we do not have the capacity, but because we have not invested in the things that matter for our society.
Well,
so yeah, we
and
just put ourselves out there for such remarks, especially from our colonial masters.
yeah,
And you know, it's
and
very funny because these things were said on national television.
And it's
on TV.
really sad that we've become so much vulnerable to that extent. And even as WHO termed this this issue of these scientists wanting suggesting that we could be used as labs for this vaccine. In terms of them saying that this is a colonial mentality, they even went ahead to say that these remarks are racist. And the WHO Director General further said that Africa cannot and will not be a testing ground for any vaccine. You know, they're even saying that it's because our bodies have a stronger immunity. And you know, Jenny just really rightly said it, that when you look at those countries in Europe, this is where most of these cases are being recorded there. You'd wonder why two researchers would want to say that we use Africa as a testing ground.
There are people, Kenyans on social media. Hey, so sure. Kenyans on social media. Wanakuja wanasema acheni madharau. That if you want to test any vaccine, test it amongst yourselves. Some Kenyans were even coming up on Twitter to say that, you know, if at all we are to get vaccines, then let's not dwell on other issues and bring in things that pertain to someone's race, because where you come from should not be a determinant of whether you are someone who should be subjected to being tested for a vaccine, especially when it comes to COVID-19, looking at the stigma that is out there. And now, speaking of creating solutions, there is this couple that created a solution, quote unquote. So you can imagine, I said this at the beginning of the show this morning, that it is possible for you to get married even during this COVID-19 crisis. We are talking about maintaining social distance, self-quarantine. But now there is a couple that has decided to get married in Nigeria, inside their own house in the living room. Guests are 10 people. That is the number of guests. In South Africa, we have another couple that got married through Zoom. So what they decided to do is that they got the pastor, and then the pastor was on the other side through the that teleconference. The pastor gave the instructions, blah blah blah, and the couple was standing in their living room, and that is how they got married. Talk of love.
Yeah, that shows you that this coronavirus pandemic cannot prevent whatever plans that people had. Remember that this issue of lockdown is happening in so many countries, such as also even in African countries like South Africa. And for those that had scheduled their weddings, for those that had scheduled their unions, this just shows you how people are getting creative, that we cannot continue postponing it. We had scheduled it this time, so let's get creative about it. That's why some guys will decide, let's do it in the house, let's do it via Zoom. So I think also in this pandemic, it will really, by the time it's over and we are post coronavirus, I think our level of creativity as persons, as individuals, will really be so high.
Love is stronger than coronavirus.
Yeah, post coronavirus, our level of creativity will really be so high, because if people can do it in their house, in their living room, if people can do it via Zoom.
You know, Mina Shindwa, especially when it comes to that part of saying, is there anyone amongst you who does not agree that these two people should be married? And then there is no one, and then the person will be like, so do you skip that part? I don't know.
Just to remind you that we are indeed streaming live this particular broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. Just want to thank Cosmos Langat, who says he's watching and he's a fan of KBC. Good morning to you. Thank you for watching. George Dixon is watching from Kisii. David Cook is watching from Watamu. Dennis Onserio is watching from Likoni. Good morning to you. As well as Milka Warogoro, who is watching from Busia. Remember, technology is here to help us during these uncertain times, COVID-19. And we are offering the necessary essential services. That's what the media is doing. So we're here to keep you abreast on what is happening. So keep watching. Remember, we are live, Facebook and YouTube. Just get on. Send us your feedback. Tell us what you think. Remember, we are going to be having a very entertaining conversation up next with my colleague, Jane Wamboy, is going to be engaging some artists, some you know, some you'd want to know. So do keep it right here. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta awarded them some money. What are they taking home? 5,200 bob. Is that enough? What are they going to use this money for? So do keep it right here. But Jane, who's on the other side of the studio, has more information on that.
I don't want to dig deeper into that. You just have to keep it here to catch up with that. As Ray has rightfully mentioned, our communication platforms are up and running. Keep your comments coming in. Those of you who have been very salty on social media about the fact that artists are getting this 100 million gift, as some are calling it, let us know why you are so salty about it. We will be sampling those views and comments in not too long. But in the meantime, let's get some music. Remember, it is Entertainment Thursday right here on Good Morning Kenya.